This should be music to the fans of Falcons, especially ones that are around for the Super Bowl collapse of 2016. But more importantly, the rise of the Falcons offense under Kyle Shanahan. We've seen what an offensive guru can add when you have weapons, and we do have weapons. I mean, Drake London, Bijan, obviously we need the quarterback. We do have the weapons, though. And Raheem Morris at his press conference likened Zac Robinson, the Falcons' new offensive coordinator, to Sean McVay, a young Sean McVay and a young Kyle Shanahan. Now, that's a high bar. That's like sitting there and saying, like, you're a Hall of Fame.
That's the highest bar.
It's literally like comparing someone to Tom Brady before he's ever taken a snap. But if you're Falcons fans, you got to be excited about that. And I don't think Raheem Morris is just putting him on a pedestal without thinking he can handle it.
Right. Raheem Morris spent, 3 years under Sean McVay. He spent more with Kyle Shanahan in Washington, and he also spent time with McVay in Washington, and then again with Shanahan in Atlanta. So if there is somebody who can kind of recognize who the next quote-unquote Shanahan or McVay is, Raheem Morris would be in that inner circle. But the fact is that is a very lofty bar to kind of compare Zac Robinson to. And to your point, it's kind of like the Tom Brady thing where it's like, it's kind of unfair to Zac Robinson. We're getting our hopes up. I don't want to get my hopes up. Like I keep saying, I'm cautiously optimistic. But again, this guy was the hottest offensive coordinator candidate of this hiring cycle. Every single team that had an opening, from the Bears, the Raiders, the Saints, the Bucks, every single team with an offensive coordinator opening wanted to interview Zac Robinson. Zac Robinson turned down the Bears. They immediately hired Shane Waldron, former Seahawks offensive coordinator, because it's now that we know Raheem Morris went into these interviews and basically was like, I'm going to bring in the next great offensive mind with me wherever I go. You can be that team or you cannot be that team. The Falcons, obviously, Arthur Blank was like, ooh, Kyle Shanahan, yeah. I'll take him.
Yeah, I mean, that's a hell of a sales job. I'll tell you that much, especially to a guy like Arthur Blank, who, when you think about the best,
he's pulling on those heartstrings.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, I mean, he's been thinking about 2016 for 7 years, man. And you see it in every one of his moves and the way that he operates and stuff. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, when you talk about pulling on that, that's a string that really touches his heart. There's no doubt about it. But, I mean, we'll see. Listen, I think everyone should be thrilled about the hiring of Zac Robinson and excited about what he can bring to the offense, especially since, let's be real, like Arthur Smith, great running game. Like it was kind of fun to pound the rock, but this game's about passing the rock, man. I mean, like this is a new era of football. Like you got to throw the ball to win football games and win Super Bowls. So having a guy that's going to focus on that, and that was the Rams pass game quarterback or coordinator when you had Puka Nacua going off. Cooper Kupp was injured, and still this Rams team that a lot of people expected to win 5 or 6 games had a spectacular offense.
Yeah, I think that obviously Zac Robinson was going to follow Raheem Morris wherever he went if he didn't get the Falcons head coaching gig. But he's got to be excited about what he's coming to in Atlanta. And Raheem Morris said it in his press conference. I don't remember who asked the question, excuse me. They basically asked what Raheem Morris liked about the Falcons roster. And he said 2 names. He probably meant to say 3, and that's all. He said, oh, that's easy. Drake London, Bijan Robinson. Probably also meant to say Kyle Pitts, but that's true. I mean, that's three straight top 10 picks.
Oh, my God. That Falcons Twitter, I mean, they like to run with things, and so does every fan base. But he didn't say Kyle Pitts, and everyone's like, oh, Kyle Pitts, he's getting traded, as if Raheem Morris has had these conversations before his. Yeah, we're going to trade Kyle Pitts. I'm going to come in. We're going to trade Kyle Pitts, the 4th overall pick from 2021. That's my first decision as head coach. No one questioned me. I mean, I mean, Falcons fans in general are hilarious. They're always reading into things too much. I'm sure Kyle Pitts just didn't come to mind, but yeah, I mean. Those 3 guys are studs, and you got the 8th overall pick in the draft. I mean, we've talked about it. Adunze's going to be there. Neighbors could be there. Hell, you could even trade up. What if you traded up for Marvin Harrison? I saw someone talking about that, and I was like, like if you fall in love with Marvin Harrison,
let me paint this picture. In terms of yak, there's one guy. It's Malik Neighbors. Marvin Harrison, a special prospect. There's no doubt about that. But in terms of after the catch ability, nobody holds a candle to what Malik Neighbors can do. Just imagine in that Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Deebo Samuel slot role where you're taking drag routes 50, 60. I mean, that is a this offense is tailor-made for Malik Neighbors to just terrorize defenses out of the slot. And obviously, we're LSU guys, but
it's such a good contrast to Drake London too, and
yes.
like what he adds. I mean, they're two contrasting wide receivers, and it's fantastic. And then, by the way, you'd have Kyle Pitts and Bijan Robinson. Guys, if you can't succeed with that as a quarterback, you need to get out of the league.
Yes.
And you have Zac Robinson calling you plays, a guy who's just
Desmond Ridder might actually be able to resurrect his career if that's the case.
I mean, he might be a competent quarterback after all. Maybe we need to eat our words, but I mean, seriously, bring in anyone with a pulse. And if you have those weapons, you add to the defense through free agency and the rest of the draft, I mean, you've got something to work with here to at least win the NFC South. I mean, give me a break. Coming up after the break, we're going to talk about quarterbacks. A former quarterback, Matt Ryan. Is he a game manager, or was he a game manager?